What's up, everyone? Johnny here with Narnia Less Lethal. And today we're going to be taking a closer look at the latest product from Byrna, the Byrna CL, or Compact Launcher, Byrna's smallest launcher to date. Let's get to it. Okay, before we begin the unboxing portion of this video, I want to disclose that yes, Byrna did send me this launcher. They reached out to me in my email about a month ago and asked if they could send it to me so I could do a review on it. And I let them know that I was interested. However, I would be giving my honest opinion. I would be listing both the pros and cons of this launcher. And if I didn't like the launcher or I felt it wasn't worth the price, that I would be saying so. They agreed to those terms. They even tossed in an LE, which is the most powerful pistol launcher that they sell, so that I could do a fair power comparison between all three launchers that Byrna sells. Now, I won't be doing that power comparison in this video. I will be doing it in a future video, as I want to try and keep this video focused on just the compact launcher and what the differences are between the other two as far as size and, little things that they've changed up. Okay, with that out of the way, let's unbox this. The first thing that jumps out at me that I really like is that it comes in a hard plastic case. Most other companies, when you order a launcher from them, they usually just arrive in a cardboard box and they offer a plastic case that's sold separately. So you got to pay extra. This is included with the CL. I really like that. So you'll see on the latches, it says both push and pull. So you're just going to push down where it says push and then unlatch at the same time. You can open the launcher. Now that we got it open, let's take a look at what it comes with here. So first, obviously, you get the launcher, um, spare magazine. There's already a magazine in the launcher. You're going to get 10 kinetic projectiles. There's 5 in each tube. 5 pro training projectiles. And what that is just inert powder rounds so that you can practice with powder rounds without having to use the live pepper or the Byrna Max projectiles, which are their chemical rounds. It also includes 2 8-gram CO2 cartridges. Now, I'll tell you right off the bat, if you're buying any launcher, 2 things that you're going to want to purchase more of are CO2 cartridges and more kinetic projectiles. You're going to go through the cartridges while practicing, and you're going to lose some of these kinetic rounds while practicing as well. If you open up the front here, you'll see there's a card. It has a little more information, a little wallet card you can take out that explains what the less lethal launcher is and that it's TSA approved. You can put your serial number down, all kinds of great information on this. And it just tucks away right there underneath. Okay, here are a couple of photos I took. Try my best and show you the size difference between the 3 launchers, the CL, the SD, and the LE. I can tell you in hand, the CL is drastically smaller. Um, Yeah, it might not show as well in these pictures, but in person, my first impressions when I opened the box was that this thing is tiny. So they weren't kidding when they said that it's the size of a cell phone. I mean, a big cell phone, but still a cell phone. Another thing you'll notice is there's quite a difference in magazine size. Well, of course, the launcher is smaller, but another reason for this is it's using a smaller caliber than the other launchers. The CL only uses a 61 caliber projectile instead of the standard 68 that most less lethal projectiles use. We'll get more into that a little later. So, one of the things I've noticed here on the model that was sent to me for the CL is that the front sight is a bit wonky. Yeah, it's like it's at a slant. I don't know if that's an issue with all of these launchers or just this one. Now, it does not affect the aim or anything like that. It still works just fine. Just a little minor detail I noticed that, maybe they could look into. One of the things you may notice by looking at these things laying side by side is that the CL lacks a safety. It's not on the other side. There is no safety on the CL. Not a terrible thing. I think you just need to practice proper handling and it'll be fine. But this is a good time to bring up another thing with these. So, one of the, I would say, best things that Byrna has going for them is the puncture method that they use to, well, puncture the CO2s that you load into the front. Now, there's other launchers where you have to screw in the CO2 canister or to puncture it, or you got to hit a cap on the bottom of it to puncture it. Well, with the Byrna, you actually load the CO2 right through this tube here, and then the trigger is actually the puncture method on these. So one advantage this has over all the other launchers is with this launcher, you can just point and shoot. There's no extra steps. You pull the trigger, a projectile is going to come out of it right away without anything else you having to do. Um, Now, with that said, Byrna has a there's kind of a downside to that too, in that the first projectile that gets shot will come out noticeably slower than the rest of the projectiles after that. Now, the reason for that is that the launcher doesn't have enough time to fully pressurize after the CO2 has been punctured. So, with previous models, such as the LE and the SD that have a safety, something you've been able to do to get around that is if you engage the safety and pull the trigger, it will just puncture the CO2 without firing a projectile. That means it's fully pressurized for your first shot once you take the safety off. However, with this one, you can't do it that way. But I found that there are two solutions that I believe are useful for this problem. The first solution to that issue is a pretty easy one that you can do with not a whole lot of practice. Okay. And that is just send two downrange right away when you engage. The second shot is going to come out and it'll be the most powerful shot. The launcher will be pressurized after that first one, and you're good to go there. Now, the other thing that I've found takes a little more practice. Unfortunately, you only get to practice it one time per cartridge because you can only, well, puncture the cartridge once per time you load it. So it has to do with the trigger. Now, this is unloaded. You can see strike indicators down. Okay. You know what? I'll just set that aside. Now, best way that I can think to describe this trigger has two stages. The first is a puncture stage, which is about halfway there, right about there. Okay. And then the second half, there's another click. That is the firing stage. Okay. So on your first shot, if you have good control over the trigger, you can actually feel it puncture and even hear the CO2 load through. You'll hear like a click when there's a CO2 in there and it's punctured. And right when you hear that click, you can finish the trigger pull and you will get dang near a full power first shot. Now, I'll show you guys a better example of this when we go outside and we're shooting this thing. I'll try and get the mic close to it so you can hear it puncture. But again, this method would take quite a bit of practice uh, for real world use in my heat of the moment, what I would say. Now, if you just send one out as the first shot without doing either of these methods, gonna hurt? Yeah, it's gonna hurt, but it's all about what you're comfortable with. For me, I think that I'm sending two if I ever have to engage, um, until I have better feel for the trigger, uh, and when it's puncturing. I'm pretty good now. I've been practicing with this thing, but yeah, just something to think about. Okay, so now we're going to talk about magazine capacity. All right, I've taken out the front cap so you can see there's no CO2 in here. Doing this safely. Um, Now it has a 5 round magazine, okay? But you can do one in the chamber. So you can run 6 projectiles in here. How you do that, you pop one in, okay? Take it, place it in, drop it. You'll see that the indicator is up. I don't know how well you guys will be able to see in there, but it's in there now, okay? And you're just going to take these other 5, load them up. Okay, don't push that bar down. If you push that bar down, they're going to fly everywhere. Okay, and now you'll see that you can load it with 6. Now, I don't think this is recommended by Byrna due to the amount of spring pressure it puts in the magazine. It may wear your magazines down a little bit. It's something that I have always done. I haven't had any issues with it yet. However, if you're going to be using pepper rounds or the Byrna Max rounds, do not do it this way. Oh, and you can just push the strike indicator up there, comes right out. Okay, back to what I was saying. Do not load 6 pepper rounds in this thing. In fact, I don't even recommend that you load 5 into there. Okay, these things have been known in the past to not store well in magazines. They've broken in magazines before. It was an issue they had with the SD. I'm not too familiar about it with the LE, but something that I've always done is if I have any sort of pepper round in a magazine for the day, I always unload it and put it back in a sealed container with a silica packet and never just leave it loaded with the spring pressure on it. And one other thing that I do is so I put the 4 pepper rounds in first, and then the 5th round, I'll use a kinetic round. So one of the things that people thought may have been causing that issue with the powder rounds is the indicator up here. So powder rounds are designed to break, right? So if there's too much spring pressure and there was like a point of contact in here that people thought was causing it to crack these powder rounds. So I always just put a kinetic round up first, right? Plus, we now know that the first round is going to be the weakest round. So send a kinetic round, then your powder rounds are going to come out and have the best chance at breaking and dispersing the most. So I've never had an issue doing it that way. That is how I recommend you go about it as well. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do here is weigh out our projectiles. The reason we're doing this is so that we can enter this in to the online calculator that will give us our joules reading when we take this outside and shoot it through a chronograph. So let's start with, I'll tear this or zero it. So I'll try and give you a shadow here so you could see. Okay, it's zeroed. First one we're going to do is a kinetic round. Okay, 2.11 grams. Hopefully you guys can see that. All right, I'll jot that down. Next round we're going to do is the pro training round, which is the inert powder round. Here's what the tube looks like. Okay, so looks like 1.66 is what we got there. 66 grams. Okay. Last, I'm going to weigh out these these are called the Byrna Max projectiles. Now, what these are is OC and CS powder. So if you don't know what that is, just imagine pepper spray and tear gas in powder form mixed together. And yeah, those ones are spicy. So I will not be shooting these ones outside today. I just want to compare it to the pro training rounds, as the training rounds are supposed to simulate that. 1.94 grams on my scale. So they're pretty close in weight, not the same, but pretty dang close. Um, I'm sure there's little variables in between them. Now, these Burn It Max rounds and the pepper rounds, those are not legal in all 50 states. There's a few states in which they are illegal, such as California, where you're able to apply for a license to carry them still. From my understanding, it's not too hard to do. So definitely something to look into if you plan on picking up one of these launchers. Um, yeah. Otherwise, this launcher is legal in all 50 states with the kinetic rounds as is. So as it ships. All right, let's go. I'll meet you outside and we'll shoot this thing through the chronograph.
Just want to add a quick note here. My mic will cancel out loud noises and keep the levels from peaking. So when you see me shooting this thing in the next couple clips, no, it does not sound like a bubble gun in real life. This thing is very loud. It's just my mic muting it. Okay, I just want to make that clear. Here we go. Okay, we're outside now and we're going to be shooting some of the kinetic rounds through a chronograph. Now, to load this launcher, you simply there's a little Allen key on the bottom of the magazine. You can use that right there to take off the cap. All right, and then you just drop the CO2 cartridge with the bulbous end facing out. Pop this on, tighten it down. You really want to tighten it down good so that you don't get any air leaks. Now this is just a standard 8-gram CO2 cartridge from Byrna. If you order any CO2 cartridges from Byrna, what you'll find is one of the cartridges says oil on it. And what that is for is maintenance. Byrna recommends that you use one of these oil cartridges after every 30 regular CO2 cartridges, and it'll lubricate up everything on the inside of this and keep it running great. All right, so the way we're going to do this is the first round, I'm just going to pull the trigger normal, so it should be slower than the rest of the rounds to come, like we talked about inside. Let's take a look. Grab my chronograph here. All right, here we go. First shot. .244, right? Second shot. 452, big improvement. Third shot, 444. Fourth shot, 420. Last shot here on this magazine, 402. Now I'm just going to tell you right now that I think that this thing is shooting hotter than normal. I've had this thing for like 2 weeks now. I've been testing it out here, and these are some of the highest numbers I've ever gotten. Usually it's peaking around 400 feet per second. It is a warm day out, and that can definitely affect the CO2 cartridges. So that's what I'm going to chalk it down to. Now, to air out your launcher, you can of course just pull the trigger a couple of times, or you take your Allen key, right? Nothing in there. Pop it on the cap, loosen it. And it will air down. Now you saw how that first round was a lot weaker than the others. Well, now we're going to try that method of making it puncture without shooting next. Okay, so I'm going to go get a fresh CO2 cartridge and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back now with a fresh CO2 cartridge in this thing, no magazine in it. Okay, so I'm holding the mic like this because I'm going to try and let you guys hear what it sounds like once the cartridge is punctured without firing it. Remember, you're going to pull it just about halfway till you feel it click. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to hold the mic down there so you guys can hopefully hear this. Right there. I hope you guys heard that. So now this thing is fully pressurized, and we're going to shoot it now. I'm going to have to cut the clip, I think, but yeah, let's do that, and you guys can take a look. Okay, I'm back. I got the magazine in there. Have not fired a round yet. We're going to take a look at this first shot and see what the difference is. I think the last one was 244 on the first shot. Let's see what we get here. .428, big difference. .420, second shot. Woo. .404, third shot. .388, fourth shot. We got one more. .372. All right, so now I'm going to show you me just doing that trigger pull all in one motion without cutting, so you guys can see what I'm talking about. All right, I'm back. Okay, now I'm going to show you guys that method I was talking about inside, where you can just control the trigger pull to avoid that weaker first shot. So fresh CO2, just a standard 8 gram. Pop it in. We're gonna twist the cap on. Let's get this thing, don't want to cross thread it. It's the Allen key. Got it on there tightly. Right, 5 rounds in the magazine. Chronograph, here we go. .390. So before, when you just pull the trigger quickly, you're getting 244. So that's a pretty good increase. 438 second shot. That should be our most powerful one. 422. 408. And one more. 384. So just about as powerful as our first shot there. So yeah, let's I'm going to shut this down here, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts on everything. We'll close out the video. The last thing I want to talk about before finally discussing on whether or not I like this launcher or think it's worth the money, I feel like I have to bring up, it's not a con to do with any of these launchers. It's more in the marketing that Byrna has done over the last couple of months for these launchers. So in this video, you'll hear me mention joules quite a bit. That is the industry standard when it comes to measuring the power of these launchers. Okay? Even Byrna themselves used this standard up until a couple months ago when this launcher came out. So now if you go on their website, you'll notice that it says joules per square inch, which is not the same. So when people are seeing, including myself, when I first saw the advertisement for this launcher, I saw 41.9 joules per square inch and initially interpreted it as joules and was kind of blown away that they were able to get so much power out of something so small. But after doing more digging, you'll come to learn that it's really 12 joules is all it is. So when you go on their website right now and you look at the page where it shows all three of their pistol launchers, you go down to where you see that joules per square inch reading. You'll see that the CL is listed at 41.9 joules per square inch. Then if you scroll over to the LE, which is their most powerful launcher, you'll see that it is also listed at 41.9 joules per square inch, which I don't doubt the math. Obviously, we're dealing with two different size calibers and projectiles here, but man, best case, it's confusing, and at worst case, it's misleading. And I think that people that don't know any better will see that and think that the CL is just as powerful as the LE. And that is not the case, nor does it need to be. The CL is built for something totally different than the LE. The selling point of the CL is its size and ease of carry, whereas the LE, its selling point is power. Two different things here, okay? So I just felt the need that to bring that up, and I hope if you guys, if my opinion even matters, of course, can fix that. It's an easy win for you guys. Just list the joules on there, less confusion, more transparency, and I think the community would really appreciate you guys doing that. Okay, so my final thoughts on the Byrna CL. Overall, I think it's a great product. It is by far the most comfortable, less lethal launcher to EDC and conceal carry that I've ever handled. I really do love it. Okay, I've been carrying it every day for the last roughly 3 weeks now, have no complaints. I can carry it comfortably at appendix carry, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I can wear jeans, sweatpants, small shirts, big shirts, doesn't matter. It does not print, it disappears on the body, and I love it. Love it. Okay. Another thing, some of you might have this or be able to relate to this is I've been trying to get my wife to carry a less lethal launcher for years at this point.
And let's just be honest. A lot of these launchers that are out, they're a bit bulky. Some of them are easier to carry than others, but I could never really talk her into it because it was too bulky on her or not comfortable to carry for her, didn't fit in her bag well. The moment I opened this up in front of her, she wanted it. She immediately said, I will take that. I will carry that. It's the perfect size. And that is a huge win for me. Now, do I think it's worth the price? Yeah, I do. Standard, it's about $550 on the Byrna website. I think it's on sale right now for just under 500 for Memorial Day. So you may be able to catch a sale here and there. But I do. Byrna is a great company in the United States, quality product. They stand behind their products with a good warranty and excellent customer service. And I really think that they play an important role in the less lethal community and pushing this technology forward into the mainstream, which is only a win for us, the consumers. Now, who do I think this launcher is best for? Okay. Are you looking for something that's easy to carry every day, right? Very concealable and has what I consider to be adequate power? Yes, this launcher would be a great purchase for you. Are you looking for something that's a powerhouse, something that you're going to be using for home defense? You know, I would say probably not. I think that there's better options out there for that. But for everyday carry, I think that this is a great option. Uh, Thank you guys for sticking around to the end. This video went a little longer than I expected. If you enjoyed it or learned anything, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be having more content in the future with different types of launchers, more pistol launchers too. Yeah, that's about it for today. Till next time, stay safe, guys.